Player 4 Podcast's first t-shirt is now on sale at tpublic.com. Ever wonder what it takes to make a good podcast? We've already done the math for you and put it on a t-shirt. Visit our storefront at tpublic.com/user/P4podcast and get yours today. That's tpublic.com/user/P4podcast.
This is the Player 4 Podcast. Join us each week as we talk about video games, entertainment, and pop culture, and bring in guests from the Rooster Teeth community. Player 4 has entered the game.
Hey everyone, it's the Player 4 Podcast, just like the intro said. And now this is the part where we introduce ourselves.
Hello, I am Tristan, aka Shagrazier on the Rooster Teeth website.
I am Alex, aka Chaos Black 21.
Malachi, a.k.a. Suki Kiba.
And Joseph, a.k.a. J. Dunlap.
Alex sounds a little unhappy. Alex, are you sad? Do you need a hug?
Do you need a pigs in a blanket?
Do you need... Oh, pigs in a blanket sounds so good.
If you put mustard in my sheets again...
We're gonna have a problem. So, this week we've got a jam-packed episode. We're going to be reliving vicariously Season 8 of Red vs. Blue with Malachi. Then we are going to give some overall impressions of Season 14, and then we're going to be hyping things!
Are we going to save the hyping for the last part of the episode?
I imagine that that's where hyping belongs.
Okay, we'll hype stuff at the end of the episode. Let's talk about Red vs. Blue then.
Bum, bum, bum. So, our episode started off where our friend Donut was shot.
This is the guy who claims he doesn't tongue click.
Oh my god! Oh, I hate you. I don't know. I don't. I really don't.
Let's start off with our friend Donut, who just got shot.
Maybe you should start talking like all like this, like fabulous all the time. Be like, okay, guys. I don't know why I do it.
All right, tell us about Season 8 of Red vs. Blue.
Getting shot.
So, yes. Donut got shot, so they're both gone. And, yeah, Meta and Washington are looking for Epsilon.
Wait, they're gone? They're dead? They're just, no more Donut? No more?
I haven't seen anything, the whole episode, nothing on it.
Lopez.
Doc came, and he was like, yeah, I can't help him. He's already dead. It's like,
oh no!
Simmons is like,
that's dead.
Yep. And Simmons is like, yeah, I'm sorry I got you involved in this. Why'd you call me? And then he turns around and there's Washington.
Does Doc know who Washington is?
No, it's more that they just looked really scary, and he was like, oh crap. I don't think they ever met.
Yeah, because I was pretty sure this was the first time that Doc would meet Washington in the meta.
Mm-hmm.
So where did Doc come from? Like, what you said that
they got called. Washington wanted him to call someone, so he ended up radioing for a medic, and Doc was the one that ended up coming. He just happened to be in the area. He's like, oh, what a coincidence that we meet like this. What's going on? How's bad? We got a lot of catching up to do. So
little did he know, now he's in a hostage situation.
Yep. Which is interesting about this season. They used two different animation styles: the traditional Red versus Blue, but they actually had their own fighting sequences where the characters weren't bound by as much of the game as the previous episodes were.
Yeah, this is why Season 8 is one of my favorites, because it was the first time they start using Monty Ohm's animations.
Yep.
All of those were rigged and animated by Monty Ohm.
Okay, so this is where he first started getting involved with it, right?
Yeah, they brought him in for Season 8, and then Season 9 is almost entirely done in his style.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting.
That particular sequence with the Warthog was so mind-blowing at the time, and still kind of is.
Best one. I mean, that was an excellent one to have as, like, the breakout sequence in Monty Ohm's style.
I'm not going to go into the blue base, not a step in without my shotgun. Shotgun!
Shotgun! Damn it, I said shotgun! Yes, I have your shotgun. No, I'm not giving it back to you just because you asked for it.
So yeah, that was pretty interesting to see that. It kind of just was really sudden too. It wasn't eased in. It was just that right when the Warthog blew through the wall, Oh yeah, the joke with the laser colors, that was like the first instance when they got to the desert with everyone there that was mentioned.
I hope we don't find out what makes a brown laser.
That was what Caboose said.
Hey, when he's really sad, it makes a blue laser.
So we have the instance where the eyeball Church, is getting frequent memory fragments popping in his head and getting distracted. And that leads to them going to one of the freelancer training areas. In the process of that happening, Sarge and Griff end up going back to Valhalla to try to save Simmons. That whole sequence with how Sarge knew Simmons was in trouble was hilarious.
That was one of my favorite we need to just explain everything away moments.
Yeah.
Wait.
Because the answer's like,
Lopez
Simmons.
and Donut are dead. And Doc and Simmons have been kidnapped by Washington and the Meta. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, Griffith's like, how did you know that? Well, what do you always say when you answer the comms?
He said, Private Griff, how may I help you?
Yeah, so it's like Simmons started with, he says hello, but Simmons started with a hi.
We've drilled that from day one. And he said
then,
that the radio hasn't been working. When has Lopez ever let something go into disrepair? Never.
and I forgot, how do you mention Washington? It was something about,
He said it's been a bit rainier here.
yeah.
And Mount Rainier is the biggest landmass in the state of Washington.
Yeah. So that was fantastic. Then he made the comments like,
It's like, and
Well,
what time is it? 4:30. Donuts, wine, and cheese hour.
yeah.
I didn't hear any tinkling glasses, did you?
And then the last part is like, Doc's.
How did you know Doc's there?
Oh, I'm not gonna explain that to you. I don't want to insult your intelligence.
It's so obvious. I don't want to insult your intelligence. It was so great. So Epsilon went off and found Phyllis? Is that what you said?
Well, no, actually, before that, I got a little ahead of myself. In the rescue attempt for Simmons, Church followed them
Right. And then he saw Washington.
and got really pissed.
And he blocked off the area into Valhalla.
Yeah, with the Warthog busted through the wall and all that stuff happened where they were fighting.
Oh my god, that was a great sequence where the meta is literally fist fighting a warthog.
Yeah, I don't know.
And Simmons is just getting ragdolled around.
So in the whole episode after that, they return back to the desert. They try to hide Church. He gets kicked away, and
He gets kicked outside the border where the mines are.
It's like, why don't you guys go get it? It's like, Simmons, well, why don't you go get it then? And
Okay, I will.
boom, you guys knew that was there. After Simmons got blown up, it actually jolted him, woke him up. Data, Data. It's not Data. What's his name? The green one. Delta.
Data?
Data.
Where was
Data.
Spock?
Shut up. Well, it's because he's all like, I was thinking the very knowledgeable computer-oriented AI, so that's why I was thinking Data. Delta was telling him a bunch of information about how that the AIs are kind of subconsciously in Church. That he doesn't know that they're there. He was trying to tell them I forgot actually.
Memory is the key.
He did. He added.
Isn't that ironic?
Also.
I think it would be ironic if everyone was made of iron.
Yes. All in all, to fast forward a bit, to move a little faster, he follows his memories, ends up going to, like I said, the freelancer base with Caboose. The Reds follow him. They go in. When they get to the entrance, they meet Phyllis, which sounds like Sheila. And Church is like, told Phyllis, he's like, just also be called Phyllis, because it's easier for you to make the adjustment than him.
Yeah. Now, do you remember why it's important that her name is Phyllis?
No.
You remember the early in season 3 when Church went back in time?
Oh, yeah,
and he
because
tried to turn off the friendly fire protocol.
You may now call me Sheila.
She says,
Yeah.
when the tank first comes on, it says, "My name is Phyllis."
Yes.
And he says, "Wait, Phyllis? Why not Sheila?" And she says, "User operator name overwritten. You may now call me Sheila."
I actually missed that part.
Haha, see? Full circle.
it was funny when they got inside the freelancer base that Phyllis said, "Would you like me to run the tutorial program?" And then Caboose is like, "Yes, definitely."
Definitely run the tutorial program. And so now they're inside this base run by Phyllis. It's a freelancer training base. What happens inside?
They're just looking around, and they get to the deepest part, and there's a door that was only for the director, but Phyllis believes that Church is the director right now. So he tells her to open it. She's like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Open the door." And they open it up, and then you see a bunch of churches.
Yes.
A whole big line of churches. And then they end up going in, and in the back is what he was looking for. And the funny part was when Caboose was on the outside of the door, he ended up going out of there, and you hear noises happening inside the room, and the Reds get up there, and something's trying to beat its way out of the room.
Uh-oh.
And Caboose is like, "Yeah, I want to go this way. Excuse me."
So what's trying to get out? What happened?
Well, there was like, "We're going to ambush him." Is it considered an ambush when something's trying to break through the door? And the door breaks down, and we have the return of Tex.
Oh, dear.
Uh-oh.
So now Tex and the Reds are face to face.
Yep, and there's a big whole huge combat scene. A lot of it, which was really funny with that whole thing is, I don't know what was Tex's obsession with punching Griff in the nuts.
Because it's funny. It's called the rule of funny, and it was in effect.
Protect me, Cone.
Yes.
Protect me, Cone. I love that line. But that whole fight was just awesome. With the whole teleporters mechanic, where they kept going through teleporters or being knocked through them.
I was actually going to bring that up, too. That was really awesome.
Actually, one of the more funny parts for me was after all that, Caboose was able to lock everyone's armor. It was actually a feature that everyone has, but Caboose is the only one that doesn't have the armor lock, which was interesting.
Because he kept the Mark V helmet.
Yeah. After they got Tex to calm down, Simmons was looking around to reprogram the computer and put the blues back in the system, and he found some of the freelancer components. Sarge told Griff to go find Simmons and help him, and he ends up going, and he's like, "You gotta give me invisibility." And he's talking about how epic it would be that he could just fall asleep wherever he wanted.
Yes. I would be completely unstoppable.
Is that basically the inevitability of upgrading the technology we currently have, which is wearing sunglasses when we sleep? So it's just one step farther than that, or, 10 steps farther than that?
Just being able to turn yourself invisible and take a nap whenever you feel like it.
That'd be nice since I have kids.
Find you.
Can I just turn invisible when I want to nap and the kids don't want me to?
Yeah. Sorry, kids, you don't have a father for the next 30 minutes.
Make yourself invisible and sleep in front of the door so they can't get out.
Well, wait, what would be the point of that? You wouldn't need to be invisible to block a door with your
They'd be stepping on me.
True. But anyways, really funny part was when they installed the unit into Griff, and it was not the invisibility.
It was a speed unit, right?
Yeah, that was actually really funny.
What did you say, Tristan? You were yawning.
That was the speed unit, right?
Yeah, that was really funny to me. Alright, so after they were in there for a while, Sheila was actually able to back up the blue information, so that's all back in the computers now. Tex leaves to go to a freelancer base that was in a snowy area. They were there once before, I believe.
Sidewinder?
I think so. I don't know all the areas very well.
This doesn't seem physically possible.
Give us a summary, then, of how you would describe the season overall, the story of the season. What important points are hit in the story?
Key points are, we find out more about the freelancer program. Church now knows a lot about the freelancer program because he got the documents of the journals from the director. Tex is actually a recreation of the director's love that he lost.
His late wife.
We know that all the blue and reds are more just an experiment for the freelancer program. The reds and blues were set up in specific situations, and the freelancers were introduced into those situations, which made Sarge very upset. It actually made him a little commendable, too, because he was like, "You want to know what what are we here for? This is what we're doing. We should just go help Church, because Church was injured, because Tex was trying to lure out the meta in Washington.
Distress beacon from Armor Lock.
Yep. So all in all, it was the bringing back of Tex, all the information about the freelancer program, and Church getting his body back. They were at Sidewinder at the end. Tex and Church are both inside the old Epsilon unit, which was turned into a capture unit, and the meta is supposedly gone. He got pulled over a cliff, and Washington is now hidden within the blues, and Church's body was used as a decoy. And that's where we left off.
Oh, that's not
Yeah, we left off
Sidewinder.
there.
I remember what you're talking about now. That's not Sidewinder. That is...
Avalanche.
yes.
Avalanche?
Yeah.
I think he's correct. Yeah, that's the Halo 3
Mhm.
cold map.
That's the one that
Boom.
has the Banshee in it and the two fortresses, I think.
Knowledge drop.
We also believe that the Alpha might be almost completely destroyed, or on the brink of completely destroying, and Tex believes it's her fault.
Well, definitely watch the next season, because
Oh my God.
this one basically leads to that one and is really awesome.
Still think 9 is my favorite of all.
Season 9 is really good.
So Season 8 was the first season that we had Monty Ohm's animations as a part
Which
of.
was pretty fantastic.
Yep, it brought back Washington and the Meta, who captured Simmons, and later Doc, trying to get hold of the Alpha program, who is in the well, yes, they want the Alpha program, which is in the Epsilon unit, or whatever they can recover of it. They are denied by the combined forces of the Reds and Blues, who knew they could work together.
Yay!
Well, question about that though is the Epsilon is the memory of all of the AIs, which each AI takes on a personality. So technically, the original Church is gone from the EMP.
Yeah.
So the Epsilon is still the Epsilon AI. It's just it
still makes me really sad. Yeah, but that still makes me really sad thinking that Church, as we always knew him, is gone. And for all the following seasons, anybody talking to him refers to him as Epsilon, because that's who he is. He's as close to the Alpha as he...
After 8, because he's been referred to Church all through 8.
Yeah.
That's an interesting gray area in a lot of science fiction.
Is he the same person?
The idea that the memory of someone is almost that person, but not quite, but still pretty close.
Well,
In Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., there was a plot point recently like that, where someone had the memories of someone else. So, in some ways, they were that person, in other ways, they weren't.
Right.
Well, look at Delta that popped out in the season also, who's within Epsilon as his memory, but he's got kind of a separate persona almost.
Yeah, Delta's a good one. So I guess they talk about it more in Season 9. Yeah. So we'll get to learn more about the AIs in Epsilon, Delta, Alpha in Season 9. That's where they really go into it.
Alright, so is that it for Reliving Vicariously?
I feel relived.
Sounds good.
It's kind of cool that currently a lot of Season 14, which is the next thing we're talking about, is still kind of related to things that Malachi has seen. Not only is he about to lead up to what's going on, but he's already seen the after effects of what's going on in Season 14.
Yeah, Season 14 is a lot of the setup for the first few seasons. It's sort of like, we know that a lot of stuff got retconned as the story was progressing. We kind of had to twist how things were perceived to make them fit the story we eventually started telling as that story evolved. And so Season 14 has been a lot of, we're going to go back and tell you how things got to the point that they were at when you were first introduced, and hopefully help it tie things together better, working all those retcons into more of a smooth storytelling.
So
There were a lot.
yeah, so can we talk about who the primary players are in Season 14?
Season 14, I would say, if you were to say primary players, I would say it's been the Reds. Most of the episodes have focused on the Reds. But the primary players are still, it's the Blood Gulch gang.
Well, you've also got Captain Flowers and Vic.
Well, yes. In the second most recent episode, why they're here, brought together in Blood Gulch by Captain Flowers in the first place, and it showed you how this whole simulation was set up to be led by Agent Florida, as a freelancer project, how Vick is a computer program who is helping to oversee the whole thing. And it shows those first few interactions between Flowers and Church and Tucker, as Flowers is trying to help the Alpha become human, forget that it's an AI and think that it's a soldier, set up this scenario. They even show the original soldier, Private Jimmy, who became Church, the Alpha, which I thought was an awesome throwback. Because if you remember, he was a good kid. Do you think I was a good kid, Church?
Tucker, don't get jealous.
Because that goes all the way back to season 1, when he tells the story about when he first met Tex on Sidewinder, and how she beat Private Jimmy to death with his own skull. Yeah, that doesn't seem physically possible.
And there's only like 2 parts of that story that are actually true. One thing is it's Sidewinder, the other thing is doesn't seem physically possible, and the rest of it was just corrupted memory.
It was corrupted memory. He fabricated things to help himself explain it.
He also sort of melded Jimmy's idea of the girl back home with the idea of him and Tex being a thing.
That is, I absolutely see that happening, and I think that was a really cool thing to work in there, considering the relationship between Church and Tex, which we get to see more of the details of as everything unfolds toward the end in Season 10.
Wait, all the way into Season 10? Because, like I said, in 8, she was a fragment off of the Alpha that resembled the director's lost love.
Which is a big part of the story, but Seasons 9 and 10 really go a lot deeper into who Tex... Yeah, who Tex is and why, and it's
Allison.
Allison was the name of the director's wife, but there's a lot of backstory there, and just a lot of character to be built. You know, there's a lot of character building that's going to be going on throughout Seasons 9 and 10 for everybody, for all the freelancers, and for the Alpha and Tex and the director especially.
So it's touch base in Season 14 now too, then, huh?
Yeah, Season 14 has, what it is it's nicely tying things together. They've finally gotten their story to a point where they understand the story they're trying to tell, and so they can go back and address all of the retcons. They didn't have as good an idea of the story they wanted to tell back then. And as the story evolved, this was a perfect example of writing a bunch of characters in a setting and seeing what happened. So they started off with some funny stories about these inept soldiers kind of combating each other and never really fighting, to this is a conspiracy, to this is a project which was designed to test military technology, to this and beyond, which you'll see in Season 9. So they had to change a lot of the things. You know, they had to take, well, this is what we said in Season 1. This doesn't really match up with how we're telling the story here in Season 6 and 7. So we need to find a way to spin that it's close enough to what was said in Season 1 that it could be as easy as people involved in the action couldn't see the reality behind the facade. And so Season 14 is just sort of tying everything together and smoothing out the rougher retcons.
Cool.
Nothing short of an aspirin overdose will foil my plans.
You're going to have a heart attack, so you need to take this medicine.
Yeah.
A heart attack? That doesn't sound like me at all. But I trust you, Private Church.
I really, really enjoyed the recent episode with Sarge and all the different Sarges that had the same exact voice.
Yes.
The
Hank Daggertooth, I think, was one of them.
Wait, your name is Sarge?
My granddaddy always said, dress for the job you want.
So
I figured I'd just take it a step further. Oh my god. 50 Shades of Red was such a funny episode.
So what are our overall impressions of Season 14? Tristan, you're caught up on Season 14. I have not seen the most recent episode with the Legos, and Alex, have you seen either that episode or the episode before it?
He's 2 episodes behind.
Okay, so we talked a while ago about what we thought we were going to expect from Season 14. Tristan, you're the only one who's seen the Lego episodes, so you have a bigger picture, I guess. What is your overall impression? What were we right about? What were we wrong about in what we expected?
We were right that they are vignettes. We were right that a lot of them are building more backstory, more depth to the characters. I wouldn't say that we've really been wrong about anything, because we suggested a whole bunch of things that it could be, never really nailing down what it would be, and it honestly has lived up to all of those things we expected. We've had several episodes that established parts of the character's history that we didn't know before, like how Simmons and Griff met and ended up in Blood Gulch. They have been done by different animators and writers who want to tell different stories. So we've seen different points of view, different characters as they kind of set up. I would say that this Lego episode is the first in Season 14 that did one of the other things we conjectured, which is tell completely different scenarios that have nothing to do with the story of Red versus Blue thus far. Where the Lego episode starts off with a monologue by Vick where he talks about parallel universes. And so the intro is that we're going into a parallel universe, and in this parallel universe, the Reds and Blues are Legos in some kid's room. And it's kind of the Lego movie kind of thing. But it's kind of I would say it's kind of a mashup of the Lego movie and Toy Story, because there are several moments where people, humans will walk by and they'll be like, freeze! Nobody move. Their vision is based on movement. So they stay perfectly still. So everybody's like, oh, there are toys all over the place. What the hell?
That makes me think of the episode that Gus made by himself with the paper on the popsicle sticks.
Yes, the little puppets.
Maybe that's one of the parallel universes as well. It's just Gus playing in the office.
I would buy that.
Kiss.
So this was a pretty funny episode. I would say that the Lego episode was a very much more humorous episode that didn't really develop any characters. All the characters were, stereotypically themselves. So some of the funny things it did address is how certain characters during the main storyline seem to be able to die and come back and disappear and reappear later in the story. Specifically like Donut and Doc. They end up in some mad science experiment where he's like strapping bombs to toys and things like that. So it's like you've seen Backyard Science on YouTube where the guy who's a degreed person is going and performing chemistry experiments, showing how certain liquids and stuff interact, and he's blowing stuff up in his pool and everything. It does feel more like a reference to both the next door neighbor kid in Toy Story who mangled and blew up toys for fun, and this Backyard Science guy who does scientific experiments and proves that where would you have the best chance of surviving if somebody threw a frag grenade at you.
Like Mythbusters, then.
A little bit, yeah. He works a little bit like Mythbusters, but more scientific than them.
Ouch, Tristan.
And his oh my god, they are not scientific.
I know.
and the Backyard Science guy also focuses a lot on explosive experiments. He likes, doing chemical mixtures that he knows is going to have a violent reaction.
I would say the only thing I was wrong about was, I was expecting a day in the life of Vic, but since they revealed that Vic is an AI, then... and that's just a throwaway joke, really? It doesn't really play into the story?
Oh, okay. We had this discussion last week.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when I said that he was a computer program AI, and you guys said no? that was kind of already established.
Okay, sure. But last week I wasn't here. So,
no, I was saying that it was kind of like already in the past. People had already figured it out.
Okay. I personally just wanted a day in the life of Vic. I wanted an episode centered around him. But more specifically, I suppose, we all kind of wanted more Vic. We wanted development for Vic, so having him as sort of the narrator of the entire season, and then having a little bit of character development showing that he is an AI after all, having him involved in Captain Flower's plans and stuff like that, I guess is close to that as we can hope for. If there is enough Vic for us now, that's what we wanted.
I want to contradict you on that point, simply over semantics. I wouldn't want to call Vic an AI. I would call him the same kind of management program as Phyllis, who is directly stated to not be an AI of the same sort as the Alpha or the fragments of the Alpha.
They're dumb AIs. They're not. They're just like in the Halo books. They're dumb AIs. They're not.
Well, okay. There's depending on the sci-fi world you're in. There's like AIs and just personality programs. There's AIs and VIs. This could just be sort of a virtual intelligence.
Right. Whatever we want to call it, I would put it in the same category as Phyllis.
Well, that's what people found out he was a program. Is VIC is essentially virtual intelligence computer.
Diddly-doo.
Yes, okay. Doodle-doo. I did
so
like seeing how he became that way and why they're here.
So, keeping with Vic, when we first saw the preview, when they first previewed season 14 and Vic came on, we didn't care too much for Bernie's rendition of Vic. How does that pan out now? I'm assuming you guys say he comes back in episode 4. How does he sound there?
Well, I think at this point we just have to understand that it is years and years later, and so this is just the new standard.
Yeah, we're almost a decade later since the last time Bernie's really had to do Vic's voice.
Right, so I would say that it definitely still doesn't fully match up with the way he played Vic way back in the beginning, but it's not going... I don't see it getting any closer to that old way of doing it.
It could just be that Bernie's voice has changed. He did lose a lot of weight.
It's possible. And I mean, people's voices change over time.
Yeah, they do.
Like the characters, like Starge, how he started as that, and then he Matt kind of refined him.
Yeah, Sarge and Caboose definitely changed pretty quickly as they kind of found their voice, literally.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's everything for season 14. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, Malachi, are you there?
He's gone.
Of course.
You were typing something. I wasn't sure what you were typing.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it's like this is a full episode of Red vs. Blue this week.
That's pretty awesome.
Blueverse.
Okay, Malachi, I have typed up a bunch of things we're going to be hyping, and you get to hype the first thing that's going on with our P4 production stuff.
Oh, yes.
People know our strategy.
It's the P4 craft scavenger hunt.
When this comes out, we will have already aired the last part of the 4-parter Tristan Scavenger Hunt.
Which is the fun shenanigans that it was.
So for those that aren't in the know, in P4 Craft, which is our Minecraft series, if you look at the count, the episode count, before we did Tristan's Scavenger Hunt, we did just a general scavenger hunt where we competed, and then Tristan, who can never find gold for his railroad projects, found gold, like, in a second.
And won.
and won it.
I was digging myself out of a hole. I was going straight up, and on my way I found gold.
And redstone. Within a few seconds on the video. So then we decided Tristan would give us something that we would have to do for him, and we would call it a scavenger hunt, and however Tristan wanted to interpret that was up to him. And it ended up being sort of an adventure, almost D&D style in some ways, and in other ways it was go and find me this, go and find me that. And he decided it would be really cool to make us find diamonds so we could get obsidian, and to make us find gold so we could make a golden apple to turn a zombie villager. And so that ended up being at least half of the entire scavenger hunt, was those two things.
Yeah. I like the way it was set up, where it started off with seemingly random items, and then slowly you could see how the items you needed to find were to be used in constructing the items you needed later.
So that we could turn the zombie villager. And speaking of all of those things, Alex, what is going on Thursday of this week?
Thursday, we are releasing a P4 bite, as we like to call them, which is a smaller video of some shenanigans that happen during our adventures in the Minecraft server. So this is, I think all of us can agree, is an exceptionally hilarious video that will be coming out.
Definitely watch it.
Yes, I thought that the music choice was really good. Tristan had some input in the music choice, but I like to throw in classical music whenever I can, and there was something quite fitting in this video as far as music goes. And then if you've watched the P4 Craft 4-parter Scavenger Hunt, then you'll understand everything that the person in the video is having to go through in this P4 bite. So go watch that on Thursday. It'll come out around noon Central Time. I get to say the next thing, which is next week we're going to have a guest, so watch out for that. What are we doing the week after, Tristan?
The week after that, we're recording a 2-part episode. That way, we can have it release on time and have another episode release while we're enjoying our time at RTX.
I plan on that coming out because I'll edit both episodes at the same time and I'll schedule this one. I plan on it coming out probably the 30th so that it's not during RTX. So maybe the day before I'll have to figure it out. We'll have to figure it out because I don't want to compete with the charity auction, but I don't want to compete with RTX. So maybe either just the afternoon of Thursday or the late afternoon of Friday, so when people have time to sit down and watch it.
Not to knock any of that, but it might end up being a non-issue either way because Thursday people are going to be traveling to RTX.
Yeah, okay. So everyone who's traveling, go and look for it because you can listen to us talk about our excitement for RTX while you're going to RTX. It works out really well.
You're sitting there in the terminal on your layover, look us up.
Yes. Alex,
While
speaking
you're
of
waiting in
RTX.
security checkpoint.
Yes.
Hold on, I'm listening to P4 Craft.
Sir, you need to remove your shoes, put them in the bucket.
Yes.
Sir, you've been randomly selected to not get on this flight.
So, Alex, speaking of RTX, what's the thing you get to hype about our panel?
For our panel, I will be doing a version of the Twitter games. And
What?
Yeah, Twitter games. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to let the audience participate, and whoever gets the right answers may win a special prize.
A prize?
Yes.
Like a door?
A door prize?
Yeah, a door prize.
I think it was a logo.
It's a big giant rectangle you're gonna get.
I think it was a logo.
A box. You could choose the box. You don't know what's going to be inside it. It could be another box.
It could be a
Or it could be a door.
One of those.
So if you're going to our panel, then be prepared to solve some Twitter games questions, just like the ones we've done in the past. The ones we've done in the past have been describe a film plot badly, or things along that nature where we kind of...
Lyrics.
Yeah, misheard lyrics, spot questions, song lyrics.
So we're not going to give that up because then you can search for them. So you're not going to know until I bring it up.
And Alex may not even know.
I may not know. I have started searching, though.
And then Tristan and I are going to get the table reading ready. Our guest is going to be Stuart,
Stuart, he's coming from England.
a.k.a. Mass Halo Gear.
You know, I feel
Cheerio.
like he's coming from England just for our panel, and that's it.
That'd be cool.
And all that.
I'd be okay with that. He's going to wave his truncheon, and he's going to sit up with us at the table with a microphone, and we're just going to let him go for half an hour.
He's going to be our stand-in British Malachi.
There seems to be a number theme here, Player 4 Podcast and 101.
So is this the Player 4-on-1 podcast panel?
You know, I like that. I think that's a great way to end this episode.
Good night, everybody.
With math.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night, everybody. Good night. I'll see you later. And it's the end of the episode. Good night. And good night again.
Just say goodbye.
And we're going.
Okay. Are you done? Like, saying
And goodbye.
All the podcasts are on the YouTube itself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The podcast is on YouTube.
Yeah. Is it possible to download the stuff off of the YouTube?
You don't have to because we have it on iTunes.
We don't have every episode on iTunes, but it goes back to around New Year's. But you can also go to our Google Drive, which is a public folder, and just download the episodes from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you can put those in your iTunes.
Speaking of catching up with P4, my younger sister started listening to P4 after she saw that we had a panel at RTX.
No, that's awesome.
And I said, well, what episode are you starting with? And she said the first one. I was like, oh, no.